All right. Shabbat Shalom. Happy Sabbath to you all. Hallelujah. All praises, honor, and glory goes to the Most High God, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the Most High God who, before you were born, already knew you. He already knew the path laid out for your life, the places you would be, the people you would meet, the things that you would go through, all the different life events, whether those be good events, bad events, whether those were by him or whether those were brought upon yourself by your conduct. And speaking about conduct, we all know life and death is in the power of the tongue, but there's more to it. Just how much power is in the tongue? How much can the tongue really create life? And how much power can the tongue destroy, cause death? Aside from that, what kind of things can the tongue attract to your life, or what kind of things can the tongue push stuff away from you? Let's go to Sirach chapter 5 and verse 15. Be not ignorant and be not ignorant of anything in a great matter or a small. Don't be ignorant in anything, whether great or small. You know, a lot of times we think, oh, we're just joking around. We're not fully aware sometimes of the words that we say and how this can make or break ourselves, somebody else around us, and what harm can it cause, right? You know, we're this is just casual talk, you know, just some basic conversation words. They're not physical, at least we don't think they are. We're not aware that just how much this plays into the physical aspect. Proverbs 18:21. Death and life are in the power of the tongue, and they that love it shall eat the fruit thereof. Death and life are in the power of the tongue. They that love it shall eat the fruit thereof. Ephesians chapter 4 and 29. Let no corrupt communication proceed out of your mouth, but that which is good to the use of edifying, that it may minister grace unto the hearers. Ephesians 4 and 29. Let no corrupt communication proceed out of your mouth, but that which is good to the use of edifying, that it may minister grace unto the hearers. All by a slip of the tongue. That's what we're going over today. Happy Sabbath to you all. Shabbat Shalom. I pray that your week has been well. You guys are enjoying your feast, whether you were had last week, whatever calendar you use. I pray that it's been a blessing and is a blessing. And even if you have some challenges this week, I pray that the Father is able to show you some light in it, sharpen your maturity, and to be able to see, okay, what are you going to show me, Lord? Father, what is it that I can learn from this? How can I grow? How can I use this to edify myself, edify others? What is it that you're trying to show me through these hardships? Proverbs 12 and 18. There is that speaketh like the piercings of a sword, but the tongue of the wise is health. There is that speaketh like the piercings of a sword. Sometimes the most pain you can cause is all by a slip of the tongue. Yeah, you may not be punching somebody in the face, or you may not be keying their car or slashing their tires. But just like a knife slashing tires, all by a slip of the tongue can do the same thing to the spirit, to the soul, to the body. There's that speaketh like the piercings of a sword, but the tongue of the wise is health. So how are you going to use this tongue when you're in these situations? When you're in the heat of the battle, caught up in the moment? You got a lot of aggression, a lot of rage, a lot of frustration, all these different emotions and feelings just flowing in. One of the fruits of the Spirit is self-control. How are we going to control our tongues? Are we going to use it to start slashing on people? Or are we going to bring health to the situation or bring health to the other person? Proverbs 12:18. There is that speaketh like the piercings of a sword, but the tongue of the wise is health. And speaking about health, let's go to Proverbs 14. So lucky, this is Proverbs 15. Proverbs chapter 15, verse 30. Light in a messenger's eyes brings joy to the heart, and good news gives health to the bones. You know how refreshing it can be when you hear good news. How much health it can bring to you when you're down and out. You got all these things going on. It feels like the world is crashing around you. But then you come across a stranger, somebody you don't even know. They stop you at the market and share something with you. That alone can make it different. That alone can be that little nudge that stops you from relapsing, stops you from deleting yourself or deleting others. Just by a simple word can change the outcome of the situation. That alone, that one little word can free you from a life sentence. Just hearing that. Proverbs 15:30. Light in a messenger's eyes brings joy to the heart, and good news gives health to the bones. Think about how much anguish and pain you would be in if that stranger didn't stop you at the market and speak to you blue, all random. If he didn't speak to you and you were to go through with what you were plotting against that person or plotting against somebody else, it would cost you your life, cost you your freedom, may even cost you your health. But the fact that that stranger stopped you out of the blue, randomly just started speaking to you, dropped some words on you that really made you slow down and think, okay, I don't want to go through with this. Or dropped words on you that really gave you the encouragement to change your outlook on the situation that you're going through. Let's go to Matthew 15. This is Matthew chapter 15, verse 18. But those things which proceed out of the mouth come forth from the heart, and they defile the man. Other translations say, out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaketh. A lot of times, too, I know people back in high school, right? They were full of jokes, full of jokes. A lot of them may not be the most beneficial jokes. Say that. Some of them may be dark humor or perverted humor. And you look at their lives and the things that they do, it goes to show where their heart is at. Sometimes these people with the most dark jokes or the most, they're probably the ones, I shouldn't say probably. Something I've noticed is that the people that have this dark sense of humor or these jokes about pain really can be the ones that are hurting the most, or they're joking about one matter, but little do you know that same situation they're facing behind closed doors. You're not aware of the battle that they face, and here they are all light and joking about somebody else's situation. Matthew 15:18, but those things which proceed out of the mouth come forth from the heart, and they defile the man, all by a slip of the tongue. And something that just came to me too is, but those things which proceed out of the mouth come forth from the heart, and they defile the man. So that person who's constantly joking about a certain matter, you can get an understanding of why certain situations still keep happening, like a cycle, repeatedly go through the same situations or constantly have a certain situation they go through, a hardship, is because they dwell on these things. They constantly joke about this type of pain they're in. Proverbs 18:21, death and life are in the power of the tongue, and they that love it shall eat the fruit thereof. So yeah, you may think you're doing, it's just words, right? What harm can it bring? But you're creating your reality. You're dwelling on these negative things by constantly making of them, constantly joking about them. It's nothing. And then you're stuck in this cycle where the fruit of it, that's what you have to eat. That's your reality. Matthew 12:36. But I say unto you that every idle word that men shall speak, they shall give account thereof in the day of judgment. Matthew 12:36. But I say unto you that every idle word that men shall speak, they shall give account thereof in the day of judgment. Here's a prime example. Here in the physical, not in the day of judgment, but the fact that the Most High God is a just judge. I could be by myself working in the yard and I smashed my finger. Okay, that's nothing, right? But when I slow down and think about it, okay, what were the thoughts that were in my head? What was I speaking before I smashed my finger? When I get to working and I'm alone working, it gives me time to think. It gives me time to think, and in this thinking, I come across things that may frustrate me. I think about things that may bring joy, or in my thinking, I get remembrances of things that'll make me mad. And so as I'm working, all by a slip of the tongue, something comes out. Next thing I know, I cut myself. I smashed my finger. Matthew 12:36. But I say unto you that every idle word that men shall speak, they shall give account thereof in the day of judgment. The Most High is a just judge. We will give account for every idle word in the day of judgment, but also he will bring judgment by the way we speak here in the physical right now. Just like smashing your finger, cutting your hand. So many times these things will happen, and I slowed down. I was like, that was a bad thought. No, I got to thinking, and it made me mad about remembering something. I let some words go out, and I'm just casually working along. And then an accident happens. I smash my finger, cut my hand. Proverbs 16:24. This is Proverbs chapter 16, verse 24. Pleasant words are as a honeycomb, sweet to the soul and health to the bones. Pleasant words are as a honeycomb, sweet to the soul and health to the bones. Proverbs 15:1. A soft answer turneth away wrath, but grievous words stir up anger. Here's something funny. In the heat of the moment, telling somebody to calm down. Does that really calm them down? that makes them explode. Proverbs 15:1. A soft answer turneth away wrath, but grievous words stir up anger. Calm down. And you create an explosion. How does that work? A soft answer turneth away wrath. There could be a misunderstanding, some tension in between some individuals, and it's good to hear both sides of the matter. It's real good to get an understanding where each party is coming from, what is going on in a certain situation, so that you can respond wisely. Slow down, patient, get an understanding, utilize self-control. Okay, this is the situation. He's feeling this way. They're feeling that way. What I say can make or break the situation. What I say can diffuse the matter or cost somebody their life just by somebody else not being able to have self-control. And that one little word triggers them. Grievous words stir up anger. A soft answer turns away wrath. Matthew 12:37. For by the words thou shalt be justified, and by thy words thou shalt be condemned. What I was speaking about earlier. For by the words thou shalt be justified, and by thy words thou shalt be condemned. Plenty times working, and I just get to thinking, I get reminded of something that made me mad, and I slip out some words. Nobody's around, who can I hurt? But then I smash my finger. I hurt myself. For by thy words thou shalt be justified, and by the words thou shalt be condemned. So yeah, even if the other person isn't there to hear what you're saying, you can condemn yourself by speaking that, letting that word go out into the atmosphere, letting that word go out into the spiritual realm. They may not be around to hear it, but remember, out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaketh. So as you're working alone and you slip out some words, is that really what's on your heart? Out of the abundance of the house, out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. So yeah, you just get reminded of a situation that made you mad. Nobody's around. You slip out some words. Next thing you know, you hurt yourself. Is because there's unresentment, unresolved, unresolved resentment. Is what I should say. Or you're harboring malice. There's some unforgiveness you haven't released. And out of the abundance of the heart, you say something because you're frustrated. You got to thinking, and you were reminded of a situation that made you mad, and then you smash your hand, smash your finger, you nick your thumb. And why? Because out of the abundance of the heart, there's something in your heart that you haven't released. There's something in your heart that you haven't gotten past. Resentment, anger, wrath, malice, ill will, contention, strife, envy. You may not even be frustrated at them, but just being envious. How did they deserve that? No, how did they get where they are? I've seen their actions. They don't deserve that. Look at what I've been doing. I deserve it more than them. But that envy, you you say some words on your own, then you get hurt because out of the abundance of the heart, there's something in your heart you didn't let go of. You haven't worked past, and this is a good time to remind yourself and to reflect. Okay, yeah, I just hurt myself. I got to thinking, I let out some words. Nobody was around, but the fact that I hurt myself after thinking of these things and letting my tongue slip, maybe this is an area I need to reflect on. Maybe this is an area I need to grow. I should be happy for them. I shouldn't envy them. These are good reminders of something that you need to get checked out. Maybe you aren't even aware there's envy harboring in you. I don't know who this is for, but this is where I'm led to speak right now about envy. All by a slip of the tongue. Nobody's around. The other person isn't with you. You're alone working. The slip of the tongue, something comes out, and then you hurt yourself. Little did you know there was something that you didn't get in check, something that you weren't aware of. Oh, there's still envy harboring within me. Matthew 12:37, for by the words thou shalt be justified, and by the words thou shalt be condemned. Proverbs 13:3, he that keepeth his mouth keepeth his life, but he that opens wide his lips shall have destruction. He that keeps his mouth keeps his life. There could be a conflict going on that you're not even involved in. It has nothing to do with you. Two other people are in conflict with one another, and you want to get involved. You want to try to diffuse the situation. You want to try to be involved and be light. I get that. You want to diffuse the matter. and so you slip something out. You think you're helping. But now the tables have turned. The board game got flipped over. They're coming after you now for getting involved, for saying something that you just thought was a soft answer. He that keeps his mouth keeps his life. If you would have just shut up, mind your business. This isn't pertaining to you. You don't need to be involved. You don't need to solve everything. You would have spared your life. You would have been able to make it home unharmed. Or maybe you didn't even get hurt. But the situation is replaying in your mind, and now you're dwelling on that, and it's eating you up. You can't even sleep at night because it's something that you weren't even involved in is bothering you. It's replaying in your mind. If you would have just kept your mouth, you would have kept your life, you would have kept your peace, you would have been able to go to sleep that night. But he that opens wide his lips shall have destruction. He that opens wide his lips shall have destruction. Proverbs 13:3. And by you trying to get involved, you thinking you're captain of the day, savior, your hero. You say something that you, in your mind, is a soft answer. But to the other person in the heat of the moment, all these emotions just raging through them, they took that offensive because you're not even involved in the matter. They already got a bunch of anger, wrath, all these feelings flowing through them. And you made the matters worse because it didn't pertain to you, and they wanted you out of it. Maybe it was a private matter they didn't want. They didn't want it to go to multiple people. Another verse relating to this, Proverbs 21:23. Whoso keeps his mouth and his tongue keeps his soul from troubles. All by a slip of the tongue. Yeah, life and death is in the power of the tongue. But with the tongue, you can attract things to your life and you can repel things from you. I remember growing up, there were people that were they would just constantly dwell on negatives. And shortly after, what happens? A bad situation will come to their life. They'll go through a hardship. And then they ask themselves, or they ask you, why does it feel like I'm in this rut? Why do these things keep happening to me? It's one thing to be thinking of stuff and dwelling on negative, but then you're speaking it. You're having conversations to yourself about negative thoughts, negative things that are going on, things that are grieving you, and you're just replaying them, not only through your mind but out through your mouth. And so, whoso keepeth his mouth and his tongue keeps his soul from troubles. You're bringing more problems into your life by letting your mouth speak on these things. You're going through a hardship, right? Okay. And instead of seeing light in the situation, you keep speaking about all the things that are going wrong. And so it seems like you're walking the situation is multiplying in a negative direction. But if you were to change your mindset Look at it from a different lens, a different perspective. Get a view on it. Okay, yeah, all this is crumbling around me. I'm still able to breathe. I can use the restroom in private. Instead of dwelling on what's wrong, all these things that are tearing me up right now, what can I still be grateful for? Then you start naming those things out loud. And watch how your situation improves. An attitude adjustment. That's something I remember constantly hearing growing up. You need an attitude adjustment. I'd hear it so many times from my pops. And it wasn't until I got older that I realized, oh, what do you mean by that? It's all by how we view things. It's all the way we look at certain matters. Your attitude, all by a slip of the tongue, just similar to that, can make or break the situation positively or negatively. Which way do you want the situation to go? It may not improve overnight. When you wake up the next day, you're still faced with that situation. But is there peace about the matter? Do you have encouragement that it's going to improve? Yeah, the walls are still crumbling down. Yeah, these things are still going wrong. You know that car is still giving you trouble. But now with that attitude adjustment, and all by a slip of the tongue, you start naming things that you're still grateful for. You have strength to get through that hardship. Colossians 3:8. But now ye also put off all of these: anger, wrath, malice, blasphemy, filthy communication out of your mouth. You're only making the situation worse. Listen to things that are going, oh, this is wrong. You know, this happened to me today. And then after that happened, this happened. And then the next thing I know, I turn around the corner and this happens. Utter madness. Proverbs 21:23. Whoso keepeth his mouth and his tongue keepeth his soul from troubles. Colossians 3:8. But now ye also put off all these: anger, wrath, malice, blasphemy, filthy communication out of your mouth. Here's something for you. Psalm 19:14. Let the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable in your sight, oh yeah, my strength and my redeemer. Like I was talking about earlier, you're alone working, right? Who's there to hurt? The other person isn't there. They can't hear your thoughts. They can't hear your words. But Yah sees what's going on. And out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaketh. So as you get reminded of a situation that's bothering you, you slip out some words, all by a slip of the tongue. Then you smash your finger. Yah sees what's going on. He sees what's in your heart. He knows that it's wicked. He knows there's something unresolved that you haven't gotten in check. Let the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable in your sight, O Lord, my strength and my redeemer. Yeah, nobody's around, but Yah sees what's going on. Maybe that's why you smashed your finger. Maybe that's why you nicked your thumb. Maybe that's why you stubbed your toe, cussing at the kids for leaving their Legos on the floor. How about that? Let the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable in your sight. Your children left Legos on the floor. You stepped on one. It hurt. You're trying to find the light and you stub your toe. But praise the Father that you have children. Praise the Father that you're able to get them the Legos. Your electric still works. You can turn on the light switch. Like an attitude adjustment. Let the words of your mouth and the meditation of your heart be acceptable in His sight. James 1:26. If any man among you seem to be religious or bridleth not his tongue, but deceiveth his own heart, this man's religion is vain. If any man among you seem to be religious and bridles not his tongue, but deceives his own heart, this man's religion is vain. Hypocrites. Saying one thing and then doing something different. Not practicing what you preach. There's been times I've given a message in later in the week or a month later. What was I just speaking about? I get humbled. I get reminded, okay, this is what I was telling you guys. Now I need to apply it too. Like I say, when I do these, I'm not just speaking to you guys. I could be speaking to myself. Proverbs 15:4. A wholesome tongue is a tree of life, but perverseness therein is a breach in the spirit. A wholesome tongue is a tree of life, but perverseness therein is a breach in the spirit. 1 Corinthians 15:33. Be not deceived. Evil communication corrupts good manners. Watch the company you keep. What are the conversations they're having around you? You might have some morals, some ethics, a code of conduct that you live by. But when you get around these people, next thing you know, you start seeing that shift a little bit. You're saying things you wouldn't normally say. I've been there. I've worked for several different companies. In this one company, I worked there for maybe a week. And I left because this was early in my walk. Little story time. I was in transition, either going to school or coming out of school, and I needed to get some work. So I joined on this company, right? And this guy's employees, yeah, the workers there, very worldly, using GD, different things like that, unbelievers. And this was early in my walk. I was coming away from that, starting to watch the way I speak about the Most High, and I got frustrated, and I noticed just in my mind wanting to say certain things about the Father. Evil communication corrupts good manners. So lucky. Be not deceived. Evil communication corrupts good manners. The company that's around you, they didn't have, they weren't making me say these things, but just being around them, hearing the things that they say, it rubbed off onto me. And when I got frustrated, I started speaking the way they would. Even if I didn't physically say it, it was on the tongue ready to come out. And so I left. I can't be around this. Psalms 37:30. The mouth of the righteous utter wisdom, and their tongues speak what is just. The mouth of the righteous utter wisdom, and their tongues speak what is just. I remember I remember too growing up and having people, older peers, they all give me different things of advice. Not all advice pertains to righteousness. It may be useful, but it may not be wisdom. A brother once told me there's no right way to do unrighteousness. There's no such thing as doing unrighteousness the right way. Just like sin is sin, it's all sin. What else we got? Sirach. This is a book of Ecclesiasticus, chapter 19, verse 6. But one who hates gossip has less evil. Jerry Springer, Dr. Phil. Linking up with your homegirls. All they want to do is gossip, right? Me, I don't have homegirls. I'm a dude. But I know how some females can get around other females, and all they do is just yap. Yap about somebody else. Yap about what the next girl and their life is about. Just they gather around and gossip. And then they have these things happen to them, or they get caught up in somebody else's drama. Sirach 19 and 6. But one who hates gossip has less evil. When you're around others and they're slandering the next person, maybe that next person is an underdog. They haven't gained the wisdom, the understanding, the experience that you have. They're at different rates in their growth. But you want to gossip on the way they're doing something or the way they lack experience. And Sirach 19:6, but one who hates gossip has less evil. If you were to say to yourself, I don't want to be around this, that person's got potential. I can't be involved. Like evil communication corrupts good manners, watching the company you keep. I can't be around. They're slandering this person when they haven't had much of a chance to gain their experience or something like that. And when you step to the side, be like, okay, I'm gonna go focus on my work. I'm gonna go focus on this. I'm gonna focus on the task at hand. Right? That's what I'm trying to say. Think about the peace that you'll have. One who hates gossip has less evil. Your thoughts will improve. The rest of your day may go better because you're not dwelling on gossip. You're not dwelling on somebody else's drama that doesn't pertain to you. And therefore you have less evil. You're not caught up in somebody else's commotion. Unnecessary. Amos 5 and 10. They hate him that rebuketh in the gate, and they abhor him that speaketh uprightly. Here's another aspect of it, all by a slip of the tongue. Correcting somebody. When it's done in love, if that person is not mature, they're going to hate you for it. If their spirit is not ready to accept the truth that you're giving them, if they're not ready to grow and mature, maybe there's some things that they haven't worked out. And you're trying to steer them in the right direction. Sit them down and tell them, look, the direction you're going, I've been there. You don't want to go down that road. It's going to lead you to this. It's going to bring unnecessary these things into your life. I'm trying to help you. I'm trying to spare you from the hardships that I went through, save you from the troubles that I faced. And if they're not mature enough to receive that, they're going to hate you for it. Amos 5:10, they hate him that rebuketh in the gate, and they abhor him that speaketh uprightly. We love our ears tickled. It's very easy to gas somebody up, stroking their ego, smooth saying, giving them what they want to hear rather than what they need to hear. And we love that because we love the encouragement. We love the false hope. You're going to be rebuked. You're going to be hated for being rebuked. You're going to be hated or slandered, or people are going to turn away from you for giving them that harsh truth that they need to hear. And y'all willing, later down the road, they'll come back to you and say, what you were telling me back then, I thank you for it. It saved me. I know I wasn't ready to receive it at the time, but after going through the situations I went through from not listening to you, it makes sense now. What you were doing, what you were saying to me would have spared my life, but I had to go experience it for myself because I wasn't mature enough to receive what you were saying to me. I'm sorry for hating you. Your righteous rebuke that you gave me back then, I thank you for it. And I praise the Father that you allowed him to use you as a vessel to speak to me, to try to steer me in the right direction. Even if I didn't go in the right direction, I can look back and thank you for it because it all came together. It makes sense now. Sirach 28. We're going to read verse 11, verse 13, verse 17, and 18. This is Sirach chapter 28, verse 11. An argument that blazes out suddenly can lead to violence. 13. Gossips and liars deserve to be cursed because they have been the ruin of many people who were minding their own business. 17. A whip can raise a welt, but a vicious tongue can break bones. 18. More people have died as a result of loose talk than were ever killed by swords, all by a slip of the tongue. Life and death is in the power of the tongue. You can create life. You can build something up, or you can tear something down and cause death. The choice is yours. What are you going to do? I pray you exercise self-control. Sirach 28 and 11. An argument that blazes out suddenly can lead to violence. Gossips and liars. This is verse 13. Gossips and liars deserve to be cursed because they have been the ruin of many people who are minding their own business. Thou shalt not bear false witness. Sirach 28, verse 25 and 26. Well, be careful with what you say. Weigh every word and have a lock ready for your mouth. Have a lock ready for your mouth. Is that something I really want to say right now? They did this to me. I'm very frustrated. I just want to retaliate. I want to get even. I want to let my voice be heard. I want them to know how I feel. Verse 25, Sirach 28:25, and have a lock ready for your mouth. Slow down, think about it. Okay. Remember, an argument that blazes out suddenly can lead to violence. Is this something I want to say right now? Do I want to open that lock? Have a lock ready for your mouth. Verse 26, someone may be waiting for you to slip And if you are not careful, you will stumble over your own words and fall down in front of him, all by a slip of the tongue. Something that just came to me is Samson and Delilah. That Delilah, oof. She just kept poking and prying on Samson. All by a slip of the tongue, Samson revealed his strength to her. He fell. Sirach 28:26. Someone may be waiting for you to slip, and if you are not careful, you will stumble over your own words and fall down in front of him. You can't, slow down. You don't need to go blurting out an answer right away. I've been in a situation where somebody asked me a question and I didn't fully listen to the question and I just blurted an answer out. And then I had to go back to them, look, I want to forgive you, or I want you to forgive me for what I said. This is the truth of the matter. Here's what is actually happening. I spoke before I understood the question, and I gave you the wrong answer. This can also make you come off as a liar. If you don't go back and check it, if you don't go back and correct what you said, okay, I spoke before I listened, and I gave you a false answer. Forgive me for that. This is a situation I've been through. Speaking before I listen. Hear the conclusion of the whole matter. So, Sirach 28:26. Someone may be waiting for you to slip, and if you are not careful, you will stumble over your own words. There it is. Speaking before you understand. Fully listen to the question. Fully listen to the situation at hand. James 1:19. Remember this, my dear friends. Everyone must be quick to listen, slow to speak. Quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry. I came off as a liar because I blurted out an answer just I don't know the word for it, but I blurted out an answer before I listened to the matter. Before I really let the question marinate. They're asking me this. What is the truth? And I want to say compulsion. I don't know. But I gave an answer quick. And it made me come off as a liar. I had to go back and ask him hey, forgive me. This is the truth of the matter. I answered before I speak. This is what's really going on. Remember this, my dear friends. Everyone must be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry. Dealing with children. Be quick to listen. Be slow to speak and slow to become angry. Okay. What is brother doing? What is sister doing? Let me get your side of the story. No, I want you to step away for a minute while I go talk to them. All right, I talk to him. You go on about your business. Let me talk to your sister. I get sister's side of the story. Try to find an understanding of what is really going on. How did this conflict create? And slow to become angry. Children, too, here's another situation. Children, they don't have the most life experience. Their muscles haven't fully developed. A gallon of milk, that's light. Really, a gallon of milk is pretty light. But as a little child, they don't have much life experience on how much to tilt something how much to tilt a liquid before it comes out, or their muscles haven't fully developed to be able to hold up a gallon, and so they spill. Maybe they don't even spill, they knock the glass over too. And they started out doing good, they got half full, and then they bumped the glass because the jug got heavy. They couldn't hold it anymore. And now the cup spilled. Now the gallon's spilling. And instead of being quick to listen and slow to speak, you're quick to become angry. Look at this big mess. Oh, look what you've done. We have to clean all of this up. It's going to be sticky. Slow down. Be slow to anger. Understand the situation. They don't have much life experience. Their muscles aren't strong enough to hold up a gallon jug of milk. Accidents are going to happen. Remember that. Be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry. Psalm 141:3. Lord, place a guard at my mouth, a sentry at the door of my lips. Just like in Sirach, having a lock ready for your mouth. And if you can't do it on your own, here, Psalm 141:3. Lord, place a guard at my mouth, a sentry at the door of my lips. If that's something you battle with, if you battle the tongue, if you don't have the best self-control to be able to put a lock on your mouth, Psalm 141. Lord, place a guard at my mouth. Consult the Father. Ask Him to give you the strength to do so. I really struggle with my tongue. I just be saying some things that my mouth gets me in trouble, Lord. I need your help. Maybe you can help me grow in my self-control. Help guard my tongue because I can't do it on my own. You see where it's getting me. Things like that. Ask the Father for His assistance. Lay that burden at His feet. We got some more to go over. Proverbs 18. 4-8 and 13. This is Proverbs chapter 18, verse 4-8 and 13. The words of the mouth are deep waters, but the fountain of wisdom is a rushing stream. It is not good to be partial to the wicked and so deprive the innocent of justice. The lips of fools bring them strife, and their mouths invite a beating. The mouths of fools are their undoing, and their lips are a snare to their very lives. The words of a gossip are like choice morsels, they go down to the innermost parts. Where is it that we read? Be not ignorant. Sirach 5:15. Be not ignorant of anything in a great matter or a small. You're not punching them in the face. You're not slashing their tires. So what harm am I actually doing? Yeah, these are just casual words. Just having some common speech. Proverbs 18:8. Words of God are choice morsels. They go down to the inmost parts. Yeah, I'm in the face. So what harm are you doing? But you don't know the battles they're facing behind closed doors. And that one little word that you say you thought was harmless, you just lit a fuse of something that was already going on. Maybe they had a fuse of problems already that they're facing, and you sparked that fuse by that one little word. Next day, you hear on the news something happened to them, all by a slip of the tongue. What harm did you do? You know, you didn't punch them in the face. You didn't slash their tires. You didn't key their car. But it went down to the inmost parts. It really grieved their soul, their spirit. It really tore where, man, they had enough hardship as it is. And then you say that one thing and it just triggered, set them off. This is the severity of the power that's in them. 13 and Proverbs 18 and 13. To answer before listening, that is folly and shame. To answer before listening, that is folly and shame. Like I say, hear the conclusion of the matter. Let the question marinate before you give an answer. The words I speak, is this something I really want to expose myself about? The answer I give, is it going to portray me as a liar? I need to slow down and listen so I give a truthful answer. Sirach 5, 12 and 13. This is Sirach chapter 5. Hope you're paying attention, because I'm Sirach chapter 12 and 13. Answer only if you know what to say. If you don't know what to say, keep quiet. Speaking can bring you either honor or disgrace. What you say can ruin you. Finish this out. Note 14. Reputation for being a gun. Don't tell tales that will hurt people. Just as robbers will suffer disgrace, so liars will suffer severe condemnation. Do nothing destructive, whether it seems insignificant or not. All by a slip of the tongue, you think it's harmless, you know, it hurts. It's not really physical. It seems insignificant, but is it really insignificant? Ezekiel, let's go to Ezekiel chapter 3, 18, 19, and 21. Ezekiel chapter 3, verse 18, 19, and 21. If I announce that someone evil is going to die, but you do not warn him to change his ways so that he can save his life, he will die still a sinner, but I will hold you responsible for his death. The blood is on your hands if you don't warn him. 19. If you do warn an evil man and he doesn't stop sinning, he will die still a sinner, but your life will be spared. Verse 21. If you do warn a good man not to sin and he listens to you and doesn't sin, he will stay alive and your life will also be spared. Just like that verse where it says, if you know what's right and don't do it, it's sin. Maybe you battled a certain addiction. Maybe you wrestled with various substances, and you see one of the youth going in the direction that you went down. And after going through what you've been through, knowing the detriments of this substance or this addiction, whatever the vice is that you once wrestled with, if you don't stop that person in their tracks and at least warn them, you don't let y'all get the harvest. You don't have to change it, but give them the warning. Tell them, look, I've been that. The direction that you're worth it. Things that it's going to bring into your life. This may cost you your health. This may cost you your finances. This may even cause something unrelated to happen, like your vehicle breaks down. something unrelated to the sin that you're doing. Off your hands. At least you done your part. I'll get the harvest, being the Father's will for him to repent or her. Things like this. Many words are meaningless. Therefore, fear Yah. It's very easy to speak, very easy to say things, but do your actions line up with it? Are you practicing what you preach? Oh my goodness. This thing is Surah 5:19, chapter 5:9 through 13. We read that. We read 12 and 13. We did 3:9 through 11. Surah 9 through 11. Be